Yo, what is up everybody? It's me, That One Weep here, back with part 4 for What If Tanjiro Learned Snow Breathing. If you guys want to see the next part of this, and also many future parts for other series, make sure to always hit the like button down here underneath, and also hit that subscribe button notification bell if you want to see more videos from me. Anyway, if you are new to the channel and have not seen this series before and are interested, make sure to go up here to the top upper right hand corner, and you can find the first part and all the way to the third part, and then get back to this video. Anyway, if you guys do enjoy, just make sure to let me know and comment down below how your day's going. Anyway, let's just get into this part for What If Tanjiro Had Snow Breathing. Last time Tanjiro would have been sent off to his next mission immediately after having defeated the demon back in that village that had been abducting girls and taking their hairpins as collectibles. Now Tanjiro was on his way to Asakusa, Tokyo. Tanjiro, being the mountain boy he was, would not be used to the big city as he enters it. Seeing all this technology, trains, and people, Tanjiro would be in awe, looking around and thinking, how's he gonna find this demon disturbance in this huge city? It's massive. As Tanjiro would be walking through the city streets and trying his best not to get lost in the huge alleyways and buildings just surrounding the area, Tanjiro would suddenly begin to smell something. This familiar scent, it's the smell of iron. It's blood. Tanjiro would lunge forward, pushing through the crowd of people, mulling about and just walking through their day. As he would then look forward before he finds someone. "He smells like that," Tanjiro would say. Tanjiro would see images in his mind of his dead family, the scent covering them. This would be the same as back then. As the light would then clear through his eyes, he would see him standing there, with a hat on top of his head as he holds the hand of a little girl and an adult woman. That's a demon," Tanjiro would say, as Tanjiro for the first time would lay his eyes upon Muzan, the demon who started it all, and the one who turned his sister into a demon and murdered his entire family in cold blood. "Muzan Kibutsuchi," Tanjiro would think. Tanjiro would lunge forward, prepared to attack, as Muzan would turn around, his eyes gazing over Tanjiro, causing Tanjiro to freeze up instantly in fear. "What? I can't move." Tanjiro's calloused hands would then glide over his blade, as he tightened his fist around it, but his hands would be shaking, as he could feel the bloodlust from Muzan Kibutsuchi simply gazing at him. "We don't want to cause a disturbance here now, do we?" Muzan would say. Muzan would quickly inject his finger into a nearby passerby man, as he injects some of his blood into him. "Who's this, dear? A friend?" the woman would say, as Muzan would turn around, now comforting his wife, telling her that, oh, it's nothing. He must be confusing him with someone else, as he began to walk away. "No, he's..." Before Tanjiro can think and actually react, suddenly the man who has blood from Kibutsuchi now inserted in within him would begin to change, as his body begins to morph into that of a demon. He would turn around towards his wife as he begins to snarl, ready to kill. The wife would be shocked as she jumps back, asking, "Darling, what's happening? What are you... What happened?" Just as the wife would be about to be fed upon, Tanjiro would lunge into action, now actually back to his senses after Muzan had left the scene. Form 2, Blizzard. With a quick flash of his blade, attacking and then resheathing his sword almost instantaneously, as he would slay the demon before anyone could get hurt. Just as Tanjiro had successfully slayed the demon, suddenly mist began to cover the area as passerbys and just random people in general begin to pass out from this smoke. Tanjiro covered his mouth and nose, as he already recognized this is a blood demon art. He would then pull out his sword, telling Nezuko to hold her breath, as suddenly two figures would come into view. "Follow us," they'd say. "If you don't want to be caught here, we have to get out of here now." The two would then guide Tanjiro as Tanjiro decides to trust them, not having ever met a demon that would actually do any tactic like this before, or be unwilling to kill in public. Tanjiro decides to follow the two, as he then heads down an alleyway before they would then deactivate the mist, and people would then begin to wake up wondering what just happened. Tanjiro would then be introduced to the two demons, one being a relatively taller woman, and the other being a boy with darker hair. Their names would be Yushiro and Tamayo. As the two would have introduced themselves to Tanjiro would be surprised, not realizing that demons could actually be resisting their bloodlust aside from Nezuko. The two demons would then explain their purpose and that they were actually demon doctors, and that Lady Tamayo actually had a type of curse that she was able to repel Kibutsuchi's curse upon them, as well as other demons, saying that they were trying to learn how they could replicate this and cure the demonism from Kibutsuchi, fighting and taking him out themselves, meaning that they were basically Tanjiro's allies. They would ask Tanjiro and Nezuko if it'd be okay to take a sample from Nezuko's blood, and Tanjiro would be very defensive at first, but Nezuko would look up to him, and as he turns back, he would ask Nezuko if it was okay, and she would nod. Tamayo and Yushiro would then thank Nezuko and Tanjiro, saying that they wouldn't have much time, but especially if Kibutsuchi would send any of the 12 moons after them. The 12 moons, Tanjiro would say? Yushiro would nod, saying that if he brings any trouble to his master, then he'll kill him. Tanjiro would tell him that he'd like to see him try, as he grasps his sword. Humans are weak, Yushiro would say as he turns around. You shouldn't overestimate your abilities just because you can swing that metal toothpick all around. As he walks away, Tamayo would tell Tanjiro not to mind him, saying that he's always like that whenever there's new people around, as she would laugh, saying that ara ara. Anyway, Tanjiro and Nezuko would be staying at the demon doctor's house for quite a while, until the point where, as I mentioned, the two moons would then come knocking at the door. Kibutsuchi would have been reminded of an awful presence from Tanjiro, someone that had caused him much grief in the past, another demon slayer, who also wore Hanafura earrings with very similar stylings. Someone who could use the breath of the sun. How troublesome, he would think. He would have sent the two demons he had chosen after Tanjiro's scent, and they would have tracked him down to the house, even being able to smell through the blood demon art that they had used in order to hide it. With Tanjiro also being able to smell the bloodlust coming from outside, they'd be ready, as both the arrow and the handball demon would arrive. Suddenly, with a crash, a ball would come flying through the building, which the two demon doctors had been making their home for the past several weeks now. The ball would destroy an entire wall as it ricochets around, almost like it has a mind of its own. Tanjiro would protect Nezuko as he covers her with his arm. Nezuko would narrow her eyes, looking forward, trying to see what's going on. As the two demons would begin to approach, Tanjiro could smell them. The smell of the blood of Muzan Kibutsuchi, and it was strong. Damn, he'd be thinking. These demons are different than the ones I've fought before so far, Tanjiro would think. Suddenly, Tanjiro would get sent flying, as his body, almost moving from nothing, would get slammed into the wall. Tanjiro would have no idea what's going on, and as he looks, he would feel pain in his side. As he would look up, he would see a demon with a hand with an eye in it, raising it towards him. Tanjiro would narrow his eyes as he analyzes the situation. As he looks around, he would realize that in this cramped space, especially the one who throws those balls, this is going to be an incredibly difficult battle to win. We need to get outside, he'd be thinking. Tanjiro would tell them the plan. I'm going to push forward and push through. When I do that, everyone needs to get out of here as well. When you guys are out there, if you can hold off the one throwing the balls, then I'll be able to fight the one who has that weird power. If I can win, then I'll help you guys and we can finish them both off. Okay? Just as Tanjiro was about to say his last word, another blast would come ricocheting through the wall as the ball ricochets around the room, hitting every wall, floor, and ceiling, as if almost it was trying to target them. Tanjiro, with a quick slice of his blade, would cut the ball as it goes flying on two halves. Tanjiro would tell him to go as he rushes out, activating one of his snow-breathing techniques. Snow-breathing technique number 6, Arctic Fox. Tanjiro taking a deep breath as he adjusts his muscles to raise his agility. Tanjiro would feel the tightening as his speed suddenly increases. He'd burst forward, faster than the demons thought he could move. As Tanjiro lunges forward, he has pretty much no power, but it's enough. The two would dodge out of the way, shocked at his sudden speed, almost superhuman, as Tanjiro would then deactivate the technique before gasping for air, still not quite used to using it. Nezuko and the others would then leap out of the house as they begin to hold off the girl throwing the balls, while Tanjiro's battle would just begin. Suddenly, invisible to him, an arrow would begin shooting towards him as Tanjiro begins flying up into the air. Damn it! I'm pretty sure his technique relies on his vision. If only it was nighttime. It's not cold enough here. I can't use frosted fog. What can I do? Tanjiro, analyzing his position, would realize that he's actually in the air, giving him the opportunity to use a technique that he doesn't have quite often. Snowboarding technique form 1, Avalanche. Tanjiro would push all of his weight down to his blade, as the slicing cut would begin to cut through the air, actually making a burst of wind covering it, giving his blade the appearance of a falling mountainside, crumbling down on its enemies below, who dared to disturb its peace. As Tanjiro comes crashing to the ground directly on top of the demon, Tanjiro could feel resistance against him. He has some sort of power that can control momentum, but it's not perfect. Otherwise he'd be able to control my body at will, which he clearly can't do. Tanjiro closes his eyes as he focuses all of his energy onto his one strongest sense, the sense of smell. As Tanjiro could smell it, the arrow. An arrow would be moving at him at fast speeds, but Tanjiro would easily be able to dodge it using Arctic Fox. As Tanjiro switches between Arctic Fox and Blizzard, multiple arrows would be shot at Tanjiro, as Tanjiro is easily able to dodge all of them using snow-breathing techniques. I'll finish him off with a water-breathing technique, he'd think. Tanjiro would then use Water Basin as he comes slamming down on top of the demon's head, squishing him into the ground with his blade as he cuts through his body. We can hear the slicing of metal against flesh as blood, meat, and the rotting corpse of the demon begins to fall to the ground as he would die. Tanjiro would have swiftly taken him out using his snow-breathing and water-type techniques, but his stamina was heavily drained, switching between Arctic Fox, Blizzard, and now going into Water Basin. He was now using 2 types of breathing styles, and that would take a huge drain in his stamina. Nezuko, on the other hand, would be doing fairly well, as she actually been starting to kick the balls back at the demon, and so now they were playing this sort of hyper-strengthened game of catch, with the loser either getting hit or dropping the ball. They had found out by this point that the balls could be controlled by her, as they had some sort of consciousness of their own, and the demons would tell Tanjiro this, as Nezuko would nod as well, confirming what they're saying. Tanjiro would agree as he tells them to get ready, with the last demon ready to fight and getting scared seeing that now she's outnumbered and her partner's been killed. You're messing with one of the 12 moons, you know, she would say. Tanjiro would say he doesn't care, but before she dies, he should tell him about Muzan Kibutsuchi. Tell him everything she knows and he might let her live. Muzan Kibutsuchi? Him? She'd be thinking as she sees a dark hand in her mind. Suddenly she began to scream as the curse of Muzan Kibutsuchi began to release itself from her body, ripping hands out of her flesh, as she began to morph and change, not even looking humanoid anymore, as she would die, with Muzan not wanting any secrets or anything about him being told to the demon slayers. Tanjiro would be shocked at what he had done to his subordinate. That bastard, Tanjiro would say. Tamayo and Yushiro would offer Tanjiro that they would take care of Nezuko and the 3 of them would continue on together, saying that Tanjiro could continue on his journey as a demon slayer. Nezuko would look towards her brother, as she would ask what he wants to do. Tanjiro looked down at his last family member, his younger sister, and he would think, I never want to lose sight of her again, after he had been gone for that one day and lost everything. Tanjiro would decide to take Nezuko with him just like he had in the original, as Tanjiro would say goodbye to Tamayo and Yushiro. After seeing Tanjiro fight, Yushiro had some respect for Tanjiro, but not enough to the point where he let him talk to Miss Tamayo like that all the time. He would huff as he looks away, being all tsundere like he is. Tanjiro would laugh as he touches the back of his head, saying, thanks for everything. Before you go though, Tanjiro, Tamayo would say. She had something she needed to tell him. Those 2 were not one of the 12 moons. What? Tanjiro would ask. But they said they were. Why would they be lying about that? She would then explain to Tanjiro about how the demons work, explaining that the 12 moons of Muzan Kibutsuchi all have numbers engraved into their eyes from him himself. That's how you can identify if they're truly one or not. And also they'd be much more powerful than that. The 4 of us together couldn't have been able to defeat 2 of them ourselves. No way. Tanjiro would gulp, thinking of how strong of a demon that must be in order to be one of the 12 moons. I'll be careful. I'll be looking out for them in the future. Thanks for telling me, he'd say. They would then part ways as Tanjiro would suddenly have his crow come flying back in, his messenger crow beginning to yap at him, telling him, southeast, southeast, as they would then begin to peck at Tanjiro's head. Fine, Tanjiro would say. Let's get going, Nezuko, as he would grab his sister's hand. Nezuko would then look up as we would see the sun beginning to rise, barely in the distance. Oh yeah, Tanjiro would think, as he then put Nezuko back inside the basket. It had been cloudy when they were fighting with the 2 fake moons earlier, so they hadn't noticed it since the sun wasn't touching any of them. But it was beginning to break through now, so Nezuko had to get back in. As Nezuko closed the box behind her, Tanjiro and Nezuko would then continue on their way, as Tanjiro would be walking down the long, lengthy road. As he was walking, Tanjiro would suddenly see a mass of a yellow, orange, and black ball just curl up in the street. He would walk forward and prod at it with his sheathed blade, asking, "What is this?" As we would suddenly hear screaming from inside the ball. "This is so not cool. This is not what I signed up for. Why me? I just wanted to have a girlfriend." He would cry as we would see Zenitsu Agatsuma for the very first time. "Wait, I remember you," Tanjiro would say. "You're one of the fellow survivors from the final selection. You were one of the people who made it to the Demon Corps. What are you doing here?" he'd ask. Suddenly, we would see Zenitsu have a sparrow land on his shoulder, as he would tell Tanjiro, asking him to keep this kid in line. Tanjiro would give Zenitsu a hand, pulling him up as Zenitsu would still be crying. As Tanjiro would tell Zenitsu that he's heading up towards the mountain, since there's supposed to be some house or something there that his crow told him about, where there's supposed to be a demon. A demon?" Zenitsu would say in fear, as he'd been sweating all over again. No, I can't. I don't want to see another demon ever again." "Come on," Tanjiro would say, as he grabs Zenitsu and begins pulling him along. Zenitsu would cry as he gets dragged along the road, with Tanjiro asking how he even became a demon slayer to begin with. I don't know, man," Zenitsu would say. Tanjiro would laugh, asking, "What kind of excuse is that? Surely you knew what you were doing once you've entered the final selection, right?" "I don't even know how I survived there, to be honest," he would say. "I got in, and then everything was dark, and then I saw blood everywhere. So much blood," he would say as Zenitsu begins shivering again. Tanjiro would sigh. "Wait, what's that?" As Tanjiro and Zenitsu would be walking, they would find two young boys shivering behind a bush. As the two would see them, they'd jump screaming. Monster!" they'd say. "A monster?" Tanjiro would ask. The two boys would introduce themselves, saying that their names are Shoichi and Teruko, and that the three of them had been playing with their older brother outside the house over there, that old abandoned one, when suddenly a hand came bursting out and grabbed him, and he got pulled all the way inside. We tried to go after him, but the doors were all locked. It was so scary, we ran over here and hid," they would cry. Tanjiro put his hand on the two boys' heads, with Zenitsu now crying too, asking for a hand on his. "Shut up, Zenitsu," Tanjiro would say. Zenitsu would then whimper again. Tanjiro would tell Zenitsu, "We need to go inside that house and save that kid. Come on." He'd grab Zenitsu and begin to walk towards the house. As we would suddenly hear the sound of a tsutsumi, a drum, completely echoing throughout the mansion, along with some chirps and hisses. "That's definitely a demon," Tanjiro would say. "It must be close too. It must have some sort of ability that's tied to this house. Most demons usually leave their territories or hunting grounds in order to capture more food. I don't know why he wouldn't have gone outside in order to get these two. But what matters is that we can save that kid." Tanjiro would pull off the wooden box from his back, as he would then whisper into it, telling Nezuko to be good, as he put her on the ground in the box. "Zenitsu." Yes?" he would say as he turns around, shaking, and his eyes moving all over the place, practically doing acrobatics. "Zenitsu, you can't jump every time someone talks to you." What do you mean jumping? I always do this," Zenitsu would say pathetically. "Come on, Zenitsu." He'd grab him as he begins pulling him inside the house. Well, did you not hear the drum sound? Are you not scared at all? Are you insane?" he would say. Tanjiro would laugh, saying that if you have to do this job, you have to be kind of insane. Zenitsu would cry out as he says that he never wanted to become a demon slayer after all. As they enter the house, they would suddenly begin to get separated, as the house began to morph and change as drum hits. "What's happening?" Tanjiro and Zenitsu get pulled apart, as the two are then sent into different hallways. Tanjiro would hear a voice, and so would Zenitsu, as the two boys had actually come in with them to try and find their brother and help. Tanjiro would guard the young child, and Zenitsu would try his best as well, as the two begin looking throughout the rooms that they were sent inside of. As they're looking around, Zenitsu would suddenly bump into something furry. As the thing would begin to yell and scream, Zenitsu would cry out and jump, and as it turns around, we would see something wearing a boar hat with a human body and ridiculous amounts of muscles, screaming and waving two swords around. "Stay out of my way," Inosuke would say, as he then runs throughout the house saying, "I'm gonna find and kill that demon." "Have fun," Zenitsu would say, as he gets out of his way, as Inosuke would begin charging throughout the house. This would be when Tanjiro and Inosuke would run into the Tsutsumi demon, the one with the drum controlling the house at the same time. As the battle to find the young boy's brother is about to begin. If you guys want to see the next part for what if Tanjiro learned snow breathing, make sure to hit that like button, comment down below what you thought, and subscribe to my channel for more what if and anime content from me. And I'll see all of you guys next time. Goodbye.